This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Magmageddon. That's right, it is time for some more 3v3 action spawning. As the Red Soviets in the northwest position, we do have Jeje, is from Team H2O, and as the blue allies, we do have Raptor, also from Team H2O, and rounding out our Team H2O on the left side, we do have, as the Yellow Empire, GTX 480. Their opponents on the right side of the map, from teammates, we do have, as the Green Empire, he is Loony. And as the Orange Empire in the middle position, we do not have from teammates Kimi, or Kimi, I don't know exactly. But our final player, also from teammates, we do have m8s Zrethya, which I never know if I'm pronouncing that name right either, but he is indeed purple. And also going for a War Factory, and look at that, that is War Factory before Second Refinery, which is not something you see very often in 3v3s. It tends to be a little bit more focused on who can get out more eco first. That tends to be what players do, so you see a lot of fast 3 refineries, a lot of fast 4 refineries, but every once in a while you do see something that is going to be like War Factory before Second Refinery. Mecha Bay is going to be added on for our friend GTX 480, and he just can't quite decide where to place it. But oil derricks will not actually be capped, so actually good on Raptor, going to be taking out a couple of different flak troopers there, and then also dropping down that terror drone. But in the middle of the map, we do have Kimi grabbing his oil derrick, and on the top, Loony has grabbed his. However, he is being a little bit annoyed by the bears coming in from Jeje. Jeje also grabbing his own oil derrick. He's got his 2 oil refineries, or his 2 ore refineries up and running. The War Factory has been thrown down. No crane for Jeje, although we will most likely be seeing the crane sometime around the 3rd or 4th refinery. 2 refinery open into airfield, as you probably saw the Vindicators heading around the map earlier in this match. Actually, a couple of Apollos here able to take down what looks like a Tengu from Kimi. So Kimi already taking a little bit of damage, but really in a 3v3 losing 1 Tengu is not too big of a deal. We do have a sudden transport heading out, so Kimi most likely does have an engineer loaded inside of there. He does still have his MCV though, because that would be probably just a bad idea. Going MCV cell after 2 refinery in a 3v3, a pretty bad idea. But I'm not sure exactly what's in the sudden transport. I mean, it is being spotted by the Apollos, and also this War Factory is going to be getting camped. But in the north, we do have actually Imperial Warriors coming in with this, with the dojo. And on the north side, Loony is heading in with some Tengus. So starting to see kind of action diversify, but not too much just yet. The harassment does come down. Jeje isn't necessarily paying as much attention as he could, because he will be losing both of those flak troopers, and he doesn't take out a single Tengu. Looks like Loony will be losing. Oh, actually, that Peacekeeper got the kill, which means Jeje's terror drone also went down as well. Very unfortunate there for Jeje. He could have potentially done more damage with that. MCV is actually going to be taking some damage, so Zrethya needs to either get some units out, potentially a hammer tank. If, no, actually, there is no super reactor, so no hammer tank unless... Nope, it's not over there. So Zrethya is going to be depending on their opponent, on their allies rather, and Kimi is just like, hey, I got my own problems, yo. I cannot be dealing with your stuff. However, terror drones are going to be showing up here, but with this VX, that may be spelling the doom of that MCV. A couple of sickles are going to be popping out now, but still no assistance from the Tengus of his allies. Instead, Raptor is going to be losing 1 Vindicator, potentially a 2nd Vindicator. No, it does not go down. The hammer tanks are going to be just trying to kite away these Tengus to make sure that they don't transform and do any real damage. The MCV getting dangerously low on HP. The Bullfrog shows up at the last possible second to save the MCV, but he does get it. He actually is able to take down that Chopper VX. Is there going to be reinforcements? No, it looks like GTX is going to be getting out of there. However, we do have from Kimi a whole bunch of Tengus. They're trying to find a sweet spot to engage. It was 5 tank busters inside of that sudden transport. They are tearing apart that airfield, and this is actually going to be the primary production facility for Raptor. So if Kimi is able to take this down, that is going to be absolutely fantastic. It'll be forcing Raptor to go ahead and rebuild that. He does have a barracks on the ground, but is that actually going to be enough? And it looks like another striker just getting 1 shot away from killing that MCV. Zrethya absolutely needs to throw down a barracks and get an engineer into that MCV stat. Raptor taking more economic damage as he is going to be losing 1 of his harvesters, or rather being forced to deploy, but at the same time, Jeje is going to be moving out and looking to take the damage to Kimi, who's currently sitting on, it looks like, 3 refineries and an oil derrick. The MCV so close to dying, and this Tengu might actually be enough. It is enough, but the cash bounty does come down, and actually, it looks like Zrethya just got both of those, or Zrethya got the cash back on those destroyed structures. So Zrethya already losing their MCV, and at the same time, Tengus are going to be moving in. Raptor is going to be taking some good damage from Kimi, but Kimi, can he actually focus down properly? Yes, indeed he can. Basic Micro is not beyond him. At the same time, Jeje is going to be moving in. Tengus and VXs are trying to be here for support. The hammer tanks are doing absolutely nothing. Jeje doesn't know how to tell them to attack. Unfortunately, he's probably controlling somewhere else on the map and doing something else, so his forces are being a little bit useless on the right side of the map. He is going to be forced to get pulled back because of Loony's Chopper VXs, which are getting locked down by Zrethya's terror drone, so that's a good use of control by multiple players. And actually that Bullfrog just went down for absolutely no reason. A throwaway unit there for Zrethya. I'm assuming that this is just a bad rally point or some sort of a click that Zrethya actually forgot about. And actually looks like GTX is going to be taking a little bit of damage on his power plant. He should be able to save that with some tsunami tanks. Jeje should be setting himself up. He's already got himself 4 refineries and an oil derrick, so never mind, he's going to be set up A-OK for economics. Although Loony, actually kind of surprised to only see Loony with 3 refineries. Has not quite taken his 4th, at least not just yet. A lot of tier 2 units coming out from GTX. Probably was a pretty quick tier 2 out of that Mecha Bay, and absolutely going to be a good idea. He does take his 3rd refinery, could even go for a 4th, and potentially even a 5th, since Zrethya is a little bit hurt, unless Zrethya has rebuilt their MCB, which he has indeed. So he is going to be sitting all right. I mean, MCVs are quite expensive, and that also locks up your war factory for quite a while to go ahead and produce that, as we do have tsunami tanks going to be moving in. A whole bunch of bears are going to be coming in on the minimap. It looks like a terrifying attack, but actually it really consists of only 1 terror drone and a hammer tank, so that's actually not all that terrifying. Hopefully, with some good control, Loony should be able to clean that up, or Jeje might be able to use his bullfrogs to great effect. The MCV is once again going to be getting chased down. 1 cryocopter is out on the field. We may be seeing some shrinkage, but at the same time, that would allow the MCV to escape quite easily from the tsunami tanks. Tengu's going to be coming in from Kimi, going to be trying to clear the skies, but Loony is here to stay, and he's bringing the beef of the army, going to be chasing away the cryocopters. Will actually be getting a kill on that cryocopter, which is unfortunate for Raptor. There goes the war factory, but 2 of these tsunami tanks are actually infected, and on top of that, well, you gotta hand it to Loony. He is absolutely saving the day with his transforming forces. The Empire player is going to be reigning absolutely supreme over that army, but again, this army, it looks so scary on the minimap because it's a big blob of units, but the DPS from this army on ground units actually isn't very good. At the same time, we do have Tengus and VXs getting mixed in from Loony. He is all the way on the wrong side of the map because here come more hammer tanks coming out from Jeje. Go ahead and rally all of them over there. He's got about 6 or 7 in total, and that is a nice solid number of hammer tanks. The multi-gunner turret does get focused down really quite quickly, and looks like Loony only lost about 1 Tengu there. Jeje, on the other hand, he's swinging on down south. He's hoping to hit Kimi and take him off guard so he can try and eliminate him from this game. Unfortunately, our H2O team hasn't been able to put the pressure on one of these players and absolutely kill them. We see more and more units streaming out for Jeje. Is he actually going to be able to break the line? We'll have to see, as GTX is going to be taking a lot of damage. He doesn't have very many forces to actually save that refinery, which means he's going to be knocked back to 3 refineries, 1 oil derrick. Lots of hammer tanks finally being mixed in here for Jeje. He's got his production up and rolling, but at the same time, Yari Minisub coming in from Loony is going to be harassing that expansion. At the same time, a second one is going to be rallied over, but Zrethya, he does indeed have a couple of terror drones. They're getting the immediate infect on that bullfrog, but what good are the bullfrogs really? They're going to be absorbing some shots, and at the same time, they are not going to be doing much other than just absorbing damage. The refinery for Kimi will most likely fall, but at the same time, GTX is taking more and more damage. Loony attacking him from multiple different angles. He can pull around to potentially a safe spot on the other side of that refinery and finish it off if need be. Looks like Loony is going to be donating some units to the hammer tanks, but at the same time, the hammer tanks don't have quite enough numbers with Kimi mixed in here to really take down all of the tsunami tanks. So fortunately for Kimi, he was able to muster at the last second and take down a lot of these hammer tanks. Jeje going to be losing the majority of his standing army, and at the same time, he will be able to clean up, well, no, maybe he won't be able to clean up with that elite mini sub. He was only able to clean up 1 of the Yaris. I thought he was going to be able to get both of them, but he was not actually able to, and it looks like Jeje going to be locking down 3 hammer tanks, and it looks like 3 tsunami tanks, and also 3 terror drones. Very unfortunate for Zrethya and Kimi that they're going to be getting those forces locked down. Hammer tanks and Tesla troopers on the front line are going to be mounting a wonderful defense, but at the same time, a nice transform by Loony. This is exactly what he needs. He is going to be trapping those hammer tanks. The base defense does go down and gets focused down in about a second's time, but at the same time, multi-gunner turrets aren't even needed in this battle, as we do indeed have Apollos being mixed in with that cryo blast to go ahead and freeze a couple of things down. One Apollo does get eliminated. At the same time, GTX, he's swinging in with a big Tengu army. Is he going to be able to save his buddy Jeje and be able to stop these tsunami tanks from infecting the rest of the base with a case of being shot up in the face? However, more and more units are going to be streaming, and all three of these players from just about each team do have a solid investment into this corner of the map. At the same time, we do indeed have more and more Yari mini-subs coming out. Well, actually, that's probably the same Yari mini-sub coming out from Loony. He's now going to be harassing GTX's third refinery, which GTX, he has got dollar bills for days. He's also got stacks of Tengus for days, so you gotta hand it to him. He's clearing the skies. He is saving Jeje, and right now Jeje, pretty much his entire army got decimated trying to take down Kimi, and he's going to be losing his war factory, but he might be able to get a couple of crushes off here. Did he actually throw down a crusher crane? I don't think so, which means no repairs are out on the field, so this MCV may be able to escape. I'm not sure if he'll actually be able to get out and get away. Raptor is going to be coming in. Guardian tanks finally being mixed in with his army, and he's been allowed to just go for a couple of minutes and just build straight up. He's sitting on 4 refineries with that oil derrick as well, building up a nice presence in the middle of the map. You see throwing down base defenses, which is a fantastic idea. At the same time, GTX is going to be moving out. He's got Tengus. Cryocopters should be there for support momentarily. At the same time, lots of infantry coming back from Lictor, or from, not Lictor, from rather... Loony. They both start with L, and that's good enough for me. The MCV should be able to make it to the repair drones of Raptor, but we'll have to see if it actually happens. At the same time, we do have GTX going to be trapping potentially a lot of tank busters. Kimi does not give the order fast enough. He may actually be losing all of these tank busters. It's going to be relatively close, as the focus firing is relatively good from each player, which means that now these Tengus need to transform, but they already are on cooldown. So these strikers will have a heyday and might actually be able to pick off a couple more. One more Tengu does go down, but the remax has already happened for GTX. He's going to be meeting up with his buddies, and the MCV is getting repairs. He's going to go ahead and turn it into a building, rather, is what I wanted to say. He may be throwing down a barracks for an engineer. Zrethya, who was kind of counted out of this game rather early because of the MCV loss, could go ahead and add on a 4th refinery relatively soon here. He did indeed never capture this oil derrick. Wow, so he hasn't actually taken that. We do have Kimi going to be moving up in the north. Loony is not here in support. There are Imperial warriors on the ground, but at the same time, Raptor, who's got a crazy number of cryocopters. Okay, 4 isn't actually all that crazy, so I take that back. He's got 4 cryocopters, which is a moderate number. He is going to be freezing down that ore refinery quite quickly, and on the north side, we do indeed have Loony moving in with a couple of Imperial warriors. No, he's actually got his Tengus here for support, which means that GTX may have trouble actually dealing with the combined forces of... Oh, never mind. He's got so many Tengus. GTX, he has been spamming out enough Tengus to go around. He's got a party made of Tengus. It's like a party platter, but it's just machine gun shooting, transforming robots from Japan, which is probably a B-rated movie, but, you know, it's also going to be happening in this game, as the hammer tank from Jeje eliminates the majority of those Imperial warriors. They weren't particularly interesting, or they weren't particularly useful, and that final Chopper VX from Loony does actually get eliminated. Unfortunately for him, he was not able to save that. Loony, he was still just sitting on that 3 refinery, I do believe. Yeah, he has not been able to expand, but he has been curbing the tide of expansions for his opponents. Looks like there was some action that I missed on the right side of the map, as we did have Raptor, who had a reasonable force of units that were moved out to the right side to go ahead and try to track down Kimi. He was not quite able to finish the job. GTX, is this the best idea? I'm not entirely sure. He's going to be fighting forces on multiple fronts, and we do indeed have Emperor's Rage, which is going to be the biggest thing he has to deal with, because the Tengus are in roughly equal numbers, but Emperor's Rage does count for quite a bit, so GTX is going to be getting beaten back. I think both teams need to just sit back for about 30 seconds to a minute and kind of type to each other, hey, what are we actually going to be doing, so that they strike as one unified front. And I mean, it's not exactly a well-known, or it's not exactly a well-kept secret that the 3 best players on a team may not win the game if the other team has better team play, and they actually play as a team better. If that actually made any sense. 3 worse players can beat 3 better players if the worst players have better teamwork, and that is generally what you want to do in team games, is have teamwork and actually strike at the same time, join together, and try to kick one player out relatively early. But we haven't seen either team do that quite to great enough effect. although we do have some nice engagements happening all over the map, as we do have more and more tank busters going to be going down. And actually, Kimi needs to get something, because GTX, he's got King Onis, but he's also got from Raptor support of artillery, so that's going to be a very powerful combination. It looks like Jeje is being forced to pull back pretty much all of his forces. He hasn't quite told that engineer to go ahead and jump inside of that MCV. He's likely, again, just looking somewhere else on the map. Slightly forgot about that, but oh, a nice swing in here from Loony. Absolutely exactly what he needs to bring this army to a screeching halt. He will be able to get out of there with the majority of his forces. Might be losing one or two to the Javelin Troopers. He is actually going to commit, which is potentially a mistake, but no, GTX doesn't actually notice that his King Oni is taking huge amounts of damage. He does show up at the last moment here, but he hasn't done any damage with that King Oni, who's going to be just taking a ton of damage from those Tengus, which is not something you see very often. While we do have Kimi going to be moving around with some more Tengus on the left side of the map, and finally, the Mirage tanks and also that King Oni were able to do some damage. Jeje is going to be taking damage from those Tengus, and more action on the left side of the map. It's just a minor harassment coming in from Kimi. He wants to make sure that he's constantly putting the pressure on the economics of his opponents, which is going to be definitely a good idea, as long as you're not throwing away too many of those Tengus to do that harassment. Multi-gunner turret is apparently not quite in range there, as that's very unfortunate that the multi-gunner turret is not attacking properly. A couple of more Bullfrogs could be getting taken out, which is, I mean, that's good for GTX, because if he can, he wants to make sure that he clears the skies so that whether it's Tengus flying over or VXs, that they can do so peacefully and that they do not get shot down by Zrethya's Bullfrogs. Just simple as that. We do have chemicals going to be coming down. Is that... I'm not sure if that was Zrethya, because if that was indeed, if that was Jeje calling down the Badger bombers to go ahead and drop those chemicals, that would be quite unusual. No Kirovs from our Soviet players, at least not just yet. I was hoping to see at least one Kirov with our Soviet players in here. Once again, GTX does lose that third refinery, and that multi-gunner turret was not enough to actually stop the Tengus on the other side of the refinery. But Twin Blades do roll up. They might need to focus fire that final Tengu down just a little bit there, as that is exactly what you want to be seeing. And was that actually Tier 3? Yes, it was. Wait a second, he's already had Tier 3. We discovered that with King Onis in the north. We do have Jeje pulling Hammer tanks back, but again, it's Jeje versus Loony. It's not Jeje and Raptor versus Loony. It's nothing like that. We do have Raptor in the middle of the map, while on the south side, his opponent is taking damage from Loony, but Loony, again, he's not necessarily striking at the same time and place as Zrethya is. Zrethya going to be poking in with a couple of Twin Blades, but it's not enough to really do substantial damage, which actually, I mean, there's no base defenses there. There are a couple of Apollos, but you know what deals with Apollos pretty well is Bullfrogs, which are just south of that location. However, we do have satellites going to be coming in, dealing some nice damage to that refinery, so much so that Kimi might be able to go ahead and pick off that refinery, but not, I guess, with that hammer tank there. Tengus do transform from Loony, trying to get us some extra damage out, but a multi-gunner turret does get thrown down. Raptor is trying to keep himself safe with those static defenses. Loony still has not taken a fourth refinery. This is just about unprecedented. The amount of low income that the team right side, the m8s plus Kimi team, is sitting on is quite surprising. A Mirage tank going to be able to clean up a couple of Tengus there. Not sure exactly how many, but the super reactor, if this gets sniped, that'll mean no more hammer tanks, and potentially the forcing to rebuild of that super reactor. So it should be going up. Oh no, it looks like GTX is actually going to be saving the day, but can he actually? Because Bullfrogs are pretty darn good. We actually do have one of the Empire players going to be throwing down Emperor's Rage, Emperor's Rage onto those units, onto those Bullfrogs, and they just absolutely shredded, absolutely demolished pretty much every single one of those Tengus. I think one of them was able to transform and get over there. At the same time, Loony is going to be trying to do enough damage to the Bullfrogs to clean them up, because as you can see right there, those Bullfrogs were exceptionally effective at clearing the skies. So you do not want to just leave stray Bullfrogs, because a lot of players will just kind of move their Bullfrogs with their army, and sometimes they're at the front of the army, and it's like, well, is that necessarily a good idea? Usually no, especially if you can snipe down all of those Bullfrogs and then swing in with lots of air forces. You can really do some devastating damage. On the south side, we do have GTX swinging in with Tengus. He's giving them away for free. He is donating those Tengus, or at least that Tengu, to charity, as we do have Cryoblast going to be coming down. Mirage tanks on the ground, getting completely surrounded by those tsunamis. Just Kimi is in too great of numbers to be stopped in that engagement. In the north, we do have more and more hammer tanks. They're picking away at this army. I think Loony is going to be forced to commit whether or not he wants to. He's going to have to engage this army rather than the leech beams just tear them apart bit by bit. But are there going to be any reinforcements? The war factory is on the front line. There's no crusher crane for repairs, which means this army is going to be getting weaker and weaker, especially if we see some nano machine micro coming out from Loony, because of course you get free repairs right on the battlefield with those nano deflectors, and you can kind of use it to repair your units in the heat of battle. If they're about to die, you can get them on out of there. The war factory gets sniped down very quickly there by Zrethya, and actually Kimi does have some forces in there as well. The Mirage tank will get some extra shots off. So unfortunately, that Terror Drone just did not kill the Mirage tank quick enough, but we do have a lot of Tengus swinging in for, oh goodness, poor Jeje didn't actually realize that his Harvester was not harvesting, and there goes Raptor, aka R9, just left the game as he does leave, and he was the blue player, so everything does indeed go to Jeje, as I guess GTX has left as well. So it's all down to Jeje, which, I mean, Jeje has a lot of stuff right now. This is absolutely insane, the amount of stuff he has. He actually is going to be cleaning up some of these forces, but no! It will not be enough. 3v1 is very difficult to pull off, and Jeje was not in the best of position, but you do have teammates, plus Kimi, going to be eventually coming out for the win, and that was action-packed across the map. Some definite mistakes made by the players, but when you've got a chaotic 3v3, it is so easy to forget about a few units here and there. And I mean, it's almost impossible just to keep track of them all with so much that is going on, especially if you're communicating with your allies. You just forget about units, and unfortunately, sometimes those units end up stacking pretty well. So a 20-minute 3v3, because a lot of times 3v3s just go on for just about ever, but that will be doing it for this match. Let's take a quick look at war collected total, and you can go ahead and check those against the teams and players that they were with, but it looks like Jeje and Raptor, so actually two H2O players were definitely ahead in income, but Kimi was doing pretty well also. And unfortunately, Zrethya, who was beaten back severely at first, but then Team H2O did not finish off Zrethya, and I feel like that was at least in some degree a key point. It wasn't necessarily the deciding moment right there, but that built to Zrethya getting that Twin Frog army composition and just destroying a number of key points. So that will be doing it for this game, an action-packed 3v3. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is going to be Sybert signing out.